What is precipitation? This year has been full of unusual precipitation. Heavy rainfalls, massive snowstorms filled the weather reports during spring, fall, and winter months. The state of Texas received more snowfall than it had in many years. The spring brought flooding recording. All this dimension of precipitation got me thinking. What is precipitation and where does it come from? And why does it sometimes rain but other times it snows? Let's find out. One thing we know is that the air is full of water even if we can't see it. We've all heard of the water cycle: evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Water is continually evaporating and condensing in the sky. In fact, if you look close at a cloud, you can see some parts disappearing while other parts seem to be growing. The disappearing is caused by evaporation. High up in the sky where the atmosphere is cold, the clouds seem to be growing are actually condensing water vapor into tiny liquid water droplets. As if they float over our heads, the clouds are full of water vapor and droplets, which are far too small to fall as precipitation. Most of the condensed water in the cloud does not fall as precipitation because the updrafts that support the clouds is too strong. But when cloud droplets become heavier than the updrafts can support, they can fall to the earth as rain. Rain, snow, sleet, or hail, all forms which we call precipitation. In order for precipitation to happen, the tiny water droplets must first condense on even tinier particles of dust, salt, or smoke. These act as These act at nucleus. In fact, these particles are condensed nuclei because they provide a surface for the water vapor to condense on. The nucleus is the center of a cell or object. In this case, a drop of precipitation. Once the water drop is formed, it can grow as a result of collision with other particles of water. If enough collision occurs, the water droplet will grow large enough to fall out of the clouds as precipitation. This is no small task. However, since millions of cloud droplets are needed to produce a single raindrop, another way for droplets to grow large enough to fall from the clouds is through the Burgeoning-Phendices process. The Burgeoning-Phendices process describes what happens when ice crystals grow in the clouds. This happens in mixed phase clouds that contain both ice crystals and supercooled liquid water droplets. Supercooled liquid water droplets exist in liquid forms at temperatures less than 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If this happens, water molecules from many water droplets will condense on a single ice crystal. Once ice crystals have formed within a supercooled cloud, they continue to grow as long as their temperature is colder than freezing. When the crystals become large enough, they fall as snow or melt as rain. In fact, most rain clouds actually begin as snow in the clouds. These snowflakes fall through warmer air as they become raindrops. One common misconception is that raindrops fall in a teardrop shape. However, this seldom's the case. Smaller raindrops that are approximately 1 millimeter across are almost perfect spheres, similar to a round ball. Large raindrops, though those are approximately 2 to 3 millimeters across, are spherical, but have a small indentation on the bottom. They are more like kidney beans than teardrops, or a hamburger bun with a flat bottom and round top. Raindrops don't stop growing at 3 millimeters though. Raindrops that are larger than 4 millimeters have a huge indentation at the bottom and are typically shaped like a parachute. These extra large drops usually end up splitting into smaller droplets before hitting the ground. The indentation on the bottom of the raindrops is caused by the resistance to air as they fall. It is surprising to realize the number of gallons of water that actually fall from the sky during a rainstorm. 1 inch of rain falling on 1 acre of land consists to 27,154 gallons of water. In fact, precipitation is responsible for depositing most of the fresh water on our planet. Approximately 114,600,000 gallons of water falls as precipitation each year. No matter where precipitation originates, it always falls as fresh water. Even water that originates from the ocean falls as fresh water because the sea salt does not evaporate in the water. If you can demonstrate this by mixing salt water and then boiling it away. The salt is left after the water is gone.
Anna, come here.
I'm sure you're wondering if the precipitation always falls as fresh water, why we have precipitation labeled as acid rain. Acid rain is caused when pollutants in the atmosphere contaminate water droplets before they fall to the earth. Acid rain is not frightening as it sounds. It does not hurt people directly, but it can make bodies of fresh water more acidic. This causes harm to the ecosystem that exists in the water because plants and animals have difficulty adapting to the increased acid in the water. Another interesting fact about precipitation is that it does not fall in the same amounts all throughout the world, in a country or even a city. Here in Texas, yearly precipitation rates vary widely. In Austin, the yearly average of precipitation is 32.4 inches, while in Midland, the average is 14.6. In El Paso, the average is 9.6. But at the Sam Rayburn Lake Dam, the yearly precipitation is 58.9. In other states, the difference between cities is not as wide as Georgia. It rains fairly evenly all year, with an average of 40 to 50 inches per year. However, between states, it can be vastly different. In Las Vegas, Nevada, the yearly average is almost 4.3 inches. The world record for average rainfall belongs to Mount Waialae, Hawaii, where it averages about 450 inches per year. In fact, one year they had 642 inches of rain. That's sparkly difference from Arica, Chile, where no rain fell for 14 years. However, Mizoram in India receives the highest average annual rainfall in the world. As mentioned earlier, precipitation takes many shapes and sizes. Although rain and snow are probably the most well-known types of precipitation, there are others. What makes the difference? The temperatures of the cloud and the temperature in the air between the cloud and the ground are what creates the different types of precipitation. As you know, rain is made of liquid water droplets that fall when temperatures in the air and at the surface of the ground are above freezing. Rain can start as water droplets or ice crystals in a cloud, but it always falls as liquid water. Hail is created in thunderstorms. Hail is balls of ice that fall from clouds. Because of the distance they fall, by the time they reach the ground, hailstones have such great velocity that they can dent cars, break windows, and do all kinds of damage. Hail is formed when water droplets form in the cloud and get pushed upwards where the temperatures are colder instead of falling immediately down. The droplets freeze and form hailstones. These hailstones will grow larger as more water droplets freeze on them and eventually become heavy enough to fall to the ground. To be classified as a hailstone, ice balls must be at least 5 millimeters in diameter, although they can be much larger. In fact, the largest record hailstone to fall on Earth was recorded July 23, 2010 in Vivian, South Dakota. Les Scott found the hailstone. It measured 8 inches in diameter and weighed 2 pounds. To put that in perspective, it was nearly the size of a volleyball. The icy precipitation, known as sleet, forms when a thin layer of warmer air come between layers of cold air. The top layer contains below freezing air. This causes water droplets to form into ice crystals, but as they fall through a warmer layer of air, they begin to melt. Then, as they leave that warmer layer and fall through the colder air towards the ground, they begin to refreeze and fall as sleet. Many people use the term sleet when they refer to a mix of rain and snow. However, that rain/snow is actually called snein. Sleet is more like ice pellets. It's very similar to hail, but much smaller, less than 5 millimeters in diameter, and forms in different weather conditions. Freezing rain is another winter occurrence, and probably the most dangerous for pedestrians or motorists. Freezing rain begins to fall just like regular rain, but the temperature of the air at the surface is below freezing. As soon as it hits the ground, it freezes. Like sleet, freezing rain usually starts as snowflakes, but then it falls onto warmer layers of the atmosphere where it turns into rain. It freezes when it touches surfaces that are below freezing temperatures. Its telltale mark is that glazed donut effects on cars and sidewalks, and it is what down tree limbs and power lines. Grapple is a frosty kind of snow, kind of like a slushy. Snow crystals in the cloud collide with very cold droplets. The water droplet freezes loosely onto the snow, making it wet and slushy. What? You've never heard of grapple? It's a real thing, and it looks a lot like sleet or small hailstones, but the small balls are made of snow, not ice, and they are white. They almost look like tiny styrofoam pellets. The final kind of precipitation is snow. Snow falls when all the air between the clouds and the Earth's surface is below freezing. On a side note, there are a couple of quirky kinds of weather and water in the atmosphere that are not considered precipitation. We know that precipitation occurs when a portion of the atmosphere becomes saturated with water vapor and then condenses and precipitates. But consider fog and mist. Does fog mist become rain? Actually, fog and mist are not precipitation at all. They are called suspensions because the water vapor does not condense and then precipitate. Precipitation is certainly not as simple as it seems. Next time you are in the middle of a weather event, stop to think about all the things that work together to create precipitation.